Hi class, I'm Kris C and I'll be your English teacher for today. Today's lesson is, what are moles? Let's begin with the question, what are moles? A mole is a rodent. Do we know any other rodents? Yes. There are mice, mouse. One is a mouse. More than one, we say mice. Okay? Rats, rabbits, there are squirrels, and even kangaroos. All of these animals are rodents. And today we are looking at the mole. A mole looks something like this. It has a head with a long nose. It has a small body with a short little tail. It has feet that face backwards, and it has very large front feet. Very large. And the mole has very small eyes because it cannot see very well. It lives in very dark areas underground where there is no light. There is no light under the ground. And so even if it had good eyesight, it wouldn't be able to see anything just because it's so dark. Okay? A mole has very small hairs. It is covered in small hairs. And unlike other animals that have hair that goes in one direction, the mole's hair goes in all directions. So if we pet an animal this way, we are petting it the right way. And if we pat it this way, it is considered to be the wrong way. But with a mole, the hair can move in any direction. That is because when a mole is traveling underground, it might be in a very narrow passage. And we call these burrows. Burrows. And if it moves forward or backwards, then its hairs will rub against the top of the burrow. And so, in order to help the mole move more easily under the ground, the hair faces in all directions instead of just one direction, like with a lot of other animals. See this? This is a mole hole. It is a fairly wide one. To give you an idea just how small these animals are, look at the size of my fingers compared to the hole. Indeed, it is very narrow. So why do moles dig these holes in the ground and burrow beneath the earth? The answer is actually easy. For one reason, they need shelter. Shelter is a safe place to stay. That is why the moles like to dig into the ground. Nothing will follow or chase them there. They're safe. They don't need to worry about other animals trying to eat them. But another reason, and actually the more important reason, is food. There are 3 things that moles like to eat more than anything. The first, worms. Moles like to dig into the ground because that is where the worms live. And when a worm enters the hole or burrow from the dirt above or below it, the mole can smell the worm and it can also hear it. And so what the mole does, it will then chase after the food as soon as it thinks it's there and eat it. Another thing that they like to eat are roots. If we have plants growing here, then these plants have roots that go deep into the ground, very deep. And so the mole will go underground and eat the roots. Especially when we plant a garden and we have carrots. If we have a carrot and the carrot is under the ground, then the mole will go into the hole. It will dig and it will find the carrot and eat it. Another thing that they like to eat are bird seeds. Bird seeds. Now these are little seeds that we take and put on the ground in order to feed the birds. But other animals, like squirrels and moles, love to eat bird seed. They don't know that we put it out for the birds. They simply smell it, and then they know, hey, look, there's bird seed there. And then they go and eat it. They come out of their ground, and once they smell it, they eat it, and then they usually return back into the ground. Okay? Now one thing about moles, since they eat bugs and worms and so many different things that they find in the ground, they have to be very, very fast. So when they see something in the ground and they can smell it and they know it's there, then what they do, they immediately go after it as fast as they can and eat it. There are some moles that have a nose and they have little feelers growing off of the nose. These are called star-nosed moles. These feelers that grow off of the nose help the mole detect movement So it can find things like worms. If the worm is moving, then these feelers can sense the worm's movement. And so the mole then goes and eats the worm and attacks it. One thing that moles do to prevent their prey from escaping is to put poison in them. The mole's saliva, which is basically spit, the mole's saliva or spit has poison in it. In many species or types of moles have poison. And this poison paralyzes. That means it prevents or stops the worm from being able to move. Then the worm is stuck. It cannot move because of the poison. And so the mole is able to store the worm and eat him later. And to give you an idea just how fast these moles have to be, they can eat their prey so quickly that our eyes cannot even see it happen. One moment it looks like there's a mole and a worm, and the next moment you look, he's already eaten it and you didn't even see him grab it. That's how fast they are. And when they move in very short, quick motions. Just like that. So we don't really see much movement because they're so fast. Let's take a look at a word, poison. A poison, like what the mole has in its saliva, is anything that can cause illness. It's any kind of substance that can cause illness. But when the poison comes from an animal, it is known as venom. So although I say that the mole is poisonous, it is better to say that they are venomous. Though both words work, venomous is still better. Now, just because a mole is able to hide under the ground does not mean that it is safe from everything. One thing that can eat a mole is a snake. A snake. Now, a snake can go down into the hole, and when it flicks its tongue out, it is smelling. It is trying to smell for the mole. And if the mole is down in its burrow, the snake will smell him and try to eat him. Another thing that moles have to avoid are traps. Remember what we said moles like to eat? Roots. And that's not a good thing for farmers. So what farmers do is they set traps for the moles. They try to find the holes like this, and then they're able to see where the mole will be. And so they will set up some kind of trap. Similar to a mouse trap. and then they will try to trap the mole so that the mole will not eat the carrot or the other kind of plant, whatever they're growing. Okay? Some other animals that moles must avoid. Certain kinds of birds. Some birds eat seeds like the mole will, but others eat meat. They like to eat rodents. Some of these birds are owls, hawks, eagles, and other birds of prey. Birds of prey. Many times the mole will stay right here inside the burrow, and by doing that it can try to avoid these birds of prey, but they also have good hearing, these birds. So the birds can hear the mole as he moves around inside the burrow. And that's how they know that the mole is in there, because they can hear him. They also use their very good sight to see him if he decides he wants to come out. Okay, here is a review question to make sure you've been paying attention. Which of the following don't moles eat? There will be three choices. A, seeds. B, birds. C, roots. Or D, worms. Which of the following don't moles eat? A, seeds. B, birds. C, roots. Or D, worms. We said that moles do like to eat seeds, so it cannot be A. Moles do not like to eat birds. Birds eat moles. So B is the correct answer. Moles like to eat roots, which is why farmers don't like moles. So C is wrong. And worms? That is the number one reason why moles dig holes in the first place. So we know it cannot be D. So the correct answer is B. They do not like to eat birds. Alright. See you next time.